Hi everyone, you should have received two papers from me in class. They are the four middle colonies, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. I first want you to find New York, that side, whatever side of the worksheet it's on, find it, and we are going to go through and talk about New York first. Make sure you have a pencil. So New York was settled by the Dutch in 1624. You should have filled out your New England colonies map in your interactive notebook by now, but if you haven't, New York is what is colored in yellow right here. When the Dutch settled in the area, they called it New Netherland, and New York City was called New Amsterdam. The Dutch are from the Netherlands, so when they came over from the Netherlands to New York, or what we know as New York, they called it New Netherland because it was in their new country that they were starting, except it was a colony. And then they called New York City New Amsterdam because Amsterdam in the Netherlands is a very popular city, as is New York City in America. New York was founded by Henry Hudson. Hudson explored the area in 1611 for the Dutch East India Company, giving the Netherlands the claim to the territory. So I have a short video to show you about Henry Hudson, so I'm going to pause my recording and get that set up. All right, so here's our short video on Henry.
Henry Hudson was the greatest explorer whose dreams never came true.
Henry Hudson was an English navigator and explorer who repeatedly tried to find a route from Europe to Asia without success.
He is considered the person who is in effect responsible for the founding of New York City, and he is also considered one of the founding figures of Canada because of his discovery of Hudson Bay.
Little is known of Hudson's early life, but many believe he was born around 1565 in England. Hudson became a skilled sailor and navigator.
In 1607, he convinced a group of investors to sponsor an expedition that would take him from England to East Asia.
The goal was to find an ice-free passage to China, sailing essentially north around the European continent.
In the next 2 years, Hudson tried twice to find a route to the Far East via the Arctic Ocean, but he was unsuccessful. Between expeditions, Hudson is believed to have married and had 3 sons.
In 1609, with the backing of Dutch investors, Henry Hudson decided he would try to look for the Northwest Passage. His crew had sailed south and west across the Atlantic Ocean.
Hudson turns south and sails into New York Bay and up the Hudson River that bears his name today, looking for some kind of inlet or bay that would turn out to be a passage through the continent.
In 1610, this time sailing under the British flag, Hudson again tried to find the Northwest Passage to the Pacific. This time following a more northern route. He sailed into what is now the Hudson Strait, and then into the bay.
When he sails into Hudson Bay, which of course is large enough so there's actually tidal pull in the bay, it was very easy to mistake it for a passage to the Pacific. And Hudson was not willing to believe otherwise.
He and his crew spend the rest of the summer looking for a passage farther west because they realize they are not in East Asia.
In November 1610, Hudson's ship became icebound in the Hudson Bay during a terrible winter. Finally, in June, the ship was able to leave, but Hudson refused to go home, and so the crew mutinied.
They placed Henry Hudson, his son, and about 7 other members of the crew in a shallop, a small boat, and set them adrift, and then proceeded to take the ship back to England. Henry Hudson and the other marooned sailors were never heard from again.
Many people think that Henry Hudson was a failure because he never achieved his life's goal, which was to find a quick water route to Asia. What we should remember is that he was an able navigator, that his ships always made it back to their investors, and that there is now more water named for Henry Hudson than any other human being who's ever lived.
So that is the end of our Henry Hudson video. Let me just shrink my screen back down to the PowerPoint, and we will continue. All right, so we are moving on to the patron system. The patron system was to promote settlement. Dutch landowners were given huge tracts of land that they could rent out to tenant farmers. They were able to keep their land even when the British gained control. That leads us into the Dutch versus the British. In 1652 to 1674, the Dutch and British fought 3 naval wars. In 1664, the British sent a naval fleet to seize the New Netherland, and the Dutch surrendered without a fight. The territory was renamed for the Duke of York, the brother of King Charles II, who received a charter for the territory. In 1673, the Dutch briefly captured the area, but it was quickly returned to British control. So it went from a Dutch settlement to British, claimed by the British. But it is originally settled by the Dutch and Henry Hudson. And as we were talking about Henry Hudson and watching the video on Hudson, my puppy Hudson was going nuts because he thought people were calling his name. So if you heard him in the background, I apologize. So we are moving on to New Jersey. Just like New York, New Jersey was settled by the Dutch in 1660. Again, you should have colored your map or at least outlined the colonies in your interactive notebook, and New Jersey is located right here. It's shaded in blue for you. Bergen. In 1660, Bergen became New Jersey's first European settlement. New Jersey was a part of New Netherland until 1664 when the British took control. So originally, New Jersey and New York were actually one big colony. But in 1664, when the British took control of New York, New Jersey became separate. So what had happened was, in 1664, the Duke of York gave the land between the Hudson and the Delaware rivers to his 2 friends, Sir George Carteret and Lord John Berkeley, and the area was renamed New Jersey. So essentially, in 1664, the Duke of York had this huge piece of land that was the combination of New York and New Jersey, and instead of having it all for himself, he wanted to share with his friends. So he split the area between him and his friends, and then they renamed it New Jersey. In 1673, Berkeley sold his share of western New Jersey to the Quakers, which we know William Penn was a Quaker, and Quaker is a vocab word, so we should know at least what a Quaker is. And then between 1674 and 1702, New Jersey was divided into 2 providences, East and West Jersey. In 1702, Queen Anne united the 2 sections, and New Jersey became a royal colony. So to thank Sir Carteret and Lord Berkeley for helping me keep my head during the English Civil War, I hereby grant you New Jersey. This is just the Duke of York, a little cartoon. Now we are moving on to the best state of the bunch, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was settled by William Penn. You did learn a lot about Pennsylvania in 4th grade because that is part of 4th grade curriculum to learn about Pennsylvania history, so some of this may be familiar. But it was settled by William Penn in 1682, and if you didn't know, Pennsylvania is right here. It's almost a square. A rectangle. It's almost a perfect rectangle, but it does have a cute little chimney at the top. Pennsylvania, a holy experiment. In 1681, King Charles II granted William Penn a charter for the colony of Pennsylvania. What's a charter again? Check your vocabulary words if you're not sure. William Penn established the colony as a place without a land-owning aristocracy. Every male settler in the colony received 50 acres and the right to vote. So 50 acres is kind of a big chunk of land. So every male settler received that. Quakers. Pennsylvania became a haven for Quakers. Quakers were also known as the Society of Friends. They were established in 1647, but there was no formal organization until 1668. Quakers were often ridiculed for their simplicity of speech and clothing. They were also persecuted for rejecting the oath, rituals, and the formal ministers of the 17th century church. And they also did not believe in war. William Penn became a Quaker in 1660. And then this is just a cute little cartoon of William Penn. All right, I'm sure you're wondering how we got here, but I did pause my recording to open up a song about Pennsylvania. So I'm going to play that for you. It's only about 2 minutes long, and it's kind of cute and catchy, so I wanted to play it for you.
Of the original 13, it's the one that didn't touch the sea, that was given away by Charles II to repay a debt of loyalty. But oh, William Penn was embarrassed and did contend, stating people will think I named it after me. That Commonwealth of old Pennsylvania, cradle of the Revolution in the Keystone State, liberty from Philadelphia any day now, declare independence in a constitutional debate. The eastern border is 57 miles along the Delaware River. Go west to find in Harrisburg, they like the Susquehanna much better. The ridges and valleys of the Appalachians to the Allegheny Plateau, thinking south along the Mason-Dixon is the way to go. Oh, that Commonwealth of old Pennsylvania, cradle of the Revolution in the Keystone State, liberty from Philadelphia any day now, declare independence in a constitutional debate. There's a mountain laurel and a branch of eastern hemlock, whispering virtue, liberty, and independence. Virtue, liberty, and independence. There's a ruffed grouse that spreads its wings and flies away, spreading virtue, liberty, and independence. Virtue, liberty, and independence. Erie, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Scranton define the four corners of PA manufacturing. Help build relations with the North. While fertile soil and agriculture opened all the southern doors, gave way to national banks and innovative state for sure. Oh, that Commonwealth of old Pennsylvania, cradle of the Revolution in the Keystone State, liberty from Philadelphia any day now, declared independence and a constitutional debate.
All right, now we are turning to our last colony of the Middle Colonies, Delaware. Delaware was settled by the New Sweden Company in 1638. And Delaware is this tiny, 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 tiny state right in between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. In 1664, the British Duke of York and the colony of New York gained control over Delaware. In 1681, William Penn was granted control over Delaware as a part of Pennsylvania. And then in 1701, Delaware separated from Pennsylvania to form its own colony. So, there has been a diverse economy in the Middle Colonies, especially. We talked about the New England colonies and the Southern colonies, but the Middle Colonies really pull the colonies together, and they really thrive as far as being diverse and have a strong agriculture. So they grew corn and other vegetables. They grew wheat, oats, and fruits. They raised livestock. They did do logging and shipbuilding and fishing, not as much as the New England colonies, but they were definitely doing it a lot more than the Southern colonies. And then how did the geography of the Middle Colonies affect their economy? Well, they had rolling hills, which were very fertile and perfect for farming. The Hudson and Delaware rivers allowed for easy access for trade and water. So you probably can figure this out by now, but Pennsylvania is a big farming state. So just from knowing that, you can probably put together how the Middle Colonies really thrived from agriculture. That being said, this is the end of our presentation and this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and then we will be doing another activity with the individual colonies coming up.